Hello everyone, today we will present Brazil in a business manner. To start off, we have the table of contents with overview and safety considerations, then we have the meeting etiquette, then negotiations, we have social aspects of business in Brazil, and then we came up with some other considerations. I'm Noemi Sante and I will present the overview and safety considerations. Brazil's capital is Brasilia, and the metro area of it has a population of 4.8 million. Brazil's major religion is Roman Catholic, with 64.63% of the whole population. Its first language is Portuguese. The currency of Brazil is the Brazilian real, and $1 equals 4.65 Brazilian real. The highest temperature in April has been in the past around 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and the lowest temperature has been around 62 degrees Fahrenheit. Approximately there are 8 rain days in April. Now we came up with some requirements. First of all, you will need the COVID-19 vaccine and mask for the flight. Additionally, you will need a valid passport with one blank side inside for the stamp. Inside Brasilia, there are 2 main traffic ways, the Axis Monumental and the Axis Rodoviário. Use the Axis Monumental to get from east to west, and on that route you will come along all the monuments and governmental buildings. The Axis Rodoviário is shaped in a curve and goes from north to south. The intersection of the 2 bus lines is the Rodoviária, and in that area you can find all the main hotels, and it's easy to walk in that area, like everything is in walking distance. However, if you want to go further routes or get outside of that area of the main bus center, you should consider getting an Uber or a taxi, because it's not a walking city at all. Additionally, you could also try to find out if the distance where you want to go to can be reached with one of the main bus lines.
Hi, my name is Mauricio Guzman, and I'll be covering the meeting etiquette in Brazil. So when you're introducing yourself in a meeting, it's important that you exchange business cards with other members. And being that you're in Brazil, you want to make sure that you have business cards that are in English and in Portuguese, as this makes it easier for other members to reach out to you if need be. If you don't know someone's name in a meeting, it's important that you address them respectfully. So for men, you would address them as senhor. For women, you would address them as senhora. This would be the equivalent to saying sir or ma'am in our culture. If you're in the middle of a presentation or a meeting, you can expect to be interrupted, as this is a common occurrence in Brazil. It's not atypical to see someone stand up or interject their opinions while in a meeting. Now you have to remember that since this is a common occurrence, you cannot be disrespectful and seem irritated by it. You have to acknowledge their input and keep going with the meeting. And most meetings are rather informal. This means that the meeting setting can be in different environments. It could be taken over lunch. It could be sometimes even at someone's house. And it really depends on the organization that you're meeting with. So it's important that you verify with that organization the meeting environment, and that way you can plan accordingly as far as your attire, what kind of time frame you're looking at, and so on.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Trent Payne, and I will be talking about negotiations in Brazil when dealing with business entities or just business partners. So, I currently here have a couple of points that I would like to pick out whenever we're talking about negotiations. And the first one I have is business culture tends to be informal and slow paced. So, when talking about that, it usually tends to be informal and slow paced because Brazilian people like to pick your brain a little bit and they like to figure out who they're doing business with. So, pretty much they don't want to go straight into a meeting not knowing somebody. Say I come overseas and I go talk to them about whatever my company is up to and what we want to do with them, they want to know who I am first before doing business, because that's who they are. And that kind of goes into my second point. Small talk is appreciated, and talking strictly business is frowned upon. And so that's why I'm saying going straight into business with Brazilians is frowned upon, because they want to know who you are, because they're genuine people. They're really kind. They're very open-minded, and they're very caring for the people that they do business with, because they feel like it's a mutual agreement between the two. So also avoid confrontations and mass frustrations. They can pick up on cues very well. They can pick up on cues. So if there's something that's not right, then they know that you are frustrated. They can actually see that as a weakness, and they tend to not want to do business with people who have weaknesses as such. And also, if you are getting too good of a deal and you say, and you're super happy about it, they can also probably pick up on that too. So that's also something to be wary of whenever doing negotiations. Also, don't focus on money, rather the power status. Brazilians don't care about money, but they care about their influence when dealing with their businesses. They want to know how much their business has, how much weight their business has, instead of how much it can make. And the last one that I thought was really interesting is foreign professionals are not allowed to practice in Brazil. In order to actually do business in Brazil, you actually have to have a broker specifically in Brazil before doing business. So your broker in the United States or wherever you're doing business with has to get in contact with someone from Brazil in order to do business. That way, they keep their businesses protected, since you have to go through them first. So, thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Andrea Medina. I did the social aspects of business in our group presentation over Brazil. I'm going to start off with the do's. So, of course, the do's, you'll be planning on negotiating. It's common for negotiation to occur over lunch. So if you're attending a Brazilian home, or, if you do go into lunch, it's good to bring the host a small gift of flowers. You may also send a gift the next day for them allowing you into their home. Make sure during conversation you always provide good eye contact. During conversations, you'll see a lot of touching. These are common gestures, and Brazilians do like to talk in close proximity of each other. So you'll see common gestures such as, women kissing each other on the cheeks, arm or, like touching of arms for men, or back slapping for men. This is all normal conversation, normal ways to communicate for Brazilians. Make sure to provide good eye contact. If you're meeting someone for the first time, it's respectable, and I learned that there's common gestures that they have in their language, so such as my pleasure expressions, such as como vai and todo bien, are common forms of saying hello in their language. If you're constantly interrupted by someone while talking, this is acceptable. This is how they communicate amongst each other, and interruption is normal. So try to stick with good conversation starters and avoid bad ones. Some good conversation starters are football, family, and music. Those are three of the main popular topics that I had researched and saw that were like good key ways to start a conversation. If you're going to present documentation, present it in Portuguese and English, since their language is Portuguese, and this just makes communication a little bit easier. People in Brazil usually have several surnames, but it's appropriate to address the people using their last surname. Do expect to be interrupted while you're speaking or making your presentation. The meeting, if you believe that the meeting is not going expected or how you would like it to go, just try your best to maintain that positive body language and avoid being considered impolite. So try to maintain that good positive mentality that it's still going to go in your favor in hopes how you would want it to work. So those are the do's of Brazil. And then lastly, these are the don'ts. There wasn't many don'ts, but I did see that these are the main key don'ts that you do want to do with social aspects for business with Brazilians. So the first one is, please avoid giving any purple or black colored gifts. This is a common gift for families in mourning or for funerals. So it's best to avoid those colors. Bad conversation topics you do not want to talk about. Please avoid speaking about politics, poverty, or religion. Just does not lead up to good conversation, and in a not so good way, or in a bad way, so to say. Do be on time. Try your best not to grow impatient when doing business with your Brazilian partner, just because it is common for them to show up 15 to 30 minutes late. But that doesn't mean you should. They may, but you need to not. You need to be on time. Absolutely 100% avoid the okay sign. This is considered a rude gesture. How some other places, commonly for here where we're at, okay is just a decent sign. It's nothing bad, nothing in bad taste. But for Brazilians, it is considered a very rude gesture, so let's avoid that at all costs. Do not attempt to direct or monopolize a conversation, since that is considered rude. The last two that I have in here are Brazilians live in the American continent. So obviously for this reason, they're Americans. So they do not like when you use the phrase in America. To them, it's considered arrogant and culturally insensible. So avoid using things like that. And then lastly, Brazilians will not end a meeting just because it's getting late. So if you have a set time and date on your schedule, do be prepared and overschedule if possible, or kind of give yourself some leverage time, because a good amount of times the meetings do not end early or on time. It's common for them to go overschedule and expect to get out later than what was scheduled. And that was the social aspects of business for Brazil.
Here are some other considerations for attending Brazil. In order to avoid cross-cultural faux pas, it is best to not be impatient. Being late is a way of life for Brazilians, so they're usually 15 to 30 minutes late for business meetings, but that is usually never an issue for them. And showing feelings of frustration and impatience will only reflect you poorly as an individual and could potentially damage your business relationship in the long run with them. And Brazilians usually pride themselves for their ability to be in control during situations like this. Don't flaunt your wealth while being in Brazil. Due to the high crime rate, it is important to keep all your valuable items hidden, such as your watch, any jewelry, your phone, your tablet, etc. And you should try to avoid mentioning Argentina and Brazil because they are rivals. This is particularly in soccer, because that is the main sport that they play in Brazil. So whenever they play Argentina in like FIFA World Cup, for example, if you are an Argentina fan and you're in Brazil, you should expect to encounter an argument about that. Avoid foul language and the raising hand fist gesture. Whenever you raise your hand, your fist like this in Brazil, it usually signifies that a man's wife is cheating on him. Be friendly and understanding. Brazilians are really friendly in general. When you first greet them, they make a lot of physical contact. Backslapping, women usually kiss each other both on the cheeks, and so they're really friendly. Praise Brazil's beaches and country's rapid growth. The beaches in Brazil are really beautiful, so for you to speak to a Brazilian about their beaches will only make them really happy and appreciative of how well that you like their country. Moving on to a conclusion. So to ensure that your business trip runs smoothly, it is always important to have knowledge of the country prior to arriving to business. So going back to the review, the overview and safety considerations, such as receiving the COVID-19 vaccine before departing, and wearing a mask upon the flight, and obtaining a valid passport with a blank side for the stamp. And the meeting etiquette, usually whenever you're at a meeting, when you present business cards, it is best to provide in English and as well as a Portuguese translation, because the Portuguese is the main language that they speak in Brazil. And whenever you are presenting in front of Brazilians, interruptions are always present, so it is best to just keep your cool and to avoid getting mad at stuff like that. And then for negotiations, usually in the culture of business in Brazil, negotiations are usually slow-paced and informal, and they focus on the power status rather than on money. And for social aspects, the gifts, this covers gifts, meet, greetings, and good conversation starters in Brazil to become closer to your business counterparts. So whenever a Brazilian invites you to their home for a dinner with their family, it's always best to bring them a gift and to bring up good conversations such as soccer, music, or whatever brings up a good conversation to maintain that good, healthy relationship with your business counterpart. And it is always best to abide and review all these categories prior to departing to Brazil to have a successful business trip and return with a business partner just a phone call away. Adapting and respecting other cultures, customs, and behavior will only increase your relationship with them in the long run, which is usually what all businessmen desire. And here are the sources that assisted us while we were creating this presentation. And this concludes the presentation on Brazil. Thank you.